Hey, what is going on, guys? DK. Back at you with another video here to bring the showdown slate between the Denver Nuggets and the Phoenix Suns. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. If you are unable to watch these YouTube videos, they're also uploaded on an Apple podcast. Link down below. It's called the DKDFS show. And if you could, leave a 5-star rating and review. That would help me out a ton because, again, every single rating review just boosts me up in those Apple podcast rankings. If you are interested in signing up for premium content, I offer that at patreon.com. I offer an NBA package as well as an esports package. So with the esports package, you get Call of Duty CSGO, and we get CSGO slates every single day, normally in the morning, so it's kind of fun to have a morning sweat. And then Call of Duty, we get slates usually 4 times a week. And I do want to thank Prize Picks for sponsoring this episode. If you're not familiar with Prize Picks, there's a couple different ways you can play. So the original way is you can take over/under on fantasy points or, fantasy scores. So like Jokic is projected for 56 fantasy points. Do it the under, do it the over. That is basically the idea. They already have a good amount of players posted for the game tomorrow. And you can also play single stats. So you can take over/under on points, assist, rebounds, 3-pointers made. They also have every sport you can think of, MLB, esports. You can play first half contests for NBA if that's something you're interested in. So it's really fun. It's a nice change of pace too from DraftKings because you're not playing against anyone. So if you guys want to try it out, inside use the code DKDFS. DKDFS, all one word, link down below. You'll get a 100% match up to $100. So going over a couple that I like here. Let's see. So Chris Paul is projected for 37. I mean, he looked 100%, right? That shoulder didn't look like it bothered him at all. He played 36 minutes too. I think I like the over there in Chris Paul, assuming we get similar run from him. And then Jokic kind of had an off game last game. Don't mind going back to him and maybe taking the over there. Also, we have MPJ currently listed as questionable. That's pretty significant. So, that would be a slight boost to Jokic. But then one guy that might start, I would assume Jamal Green starts if MPJ is out. If you get the notification that MPJ is out, you maybe want to try to hustle and get the over on Jamal Green. So I would guess he picks up the start if MPJ can't go. And finally, I just want to thank you guys again for the continued support. Again, everyone that likes these videos is in the live stream, and that helps a ton, guys. So if you could, leave a like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't want to upload videos you don't want to live. Again, I will be live tomorrow. Make sure to check it out. I'll be live for probably 20-ish minutes or so. Break down the slate again and answer any questions you guys have. And let's try to aim for 150 likes on this video. All right, so before we talk about players and the prices for this showdown slate, we can look back at my lineup here from Tuesday slate. So Tuesday, I am not tilted about playing Rudy Gobert. Nope. I am not tilted at all. You're tilted, not me. Nope. I am very tilted because the first time I think all year I've played overrated Rudy Gobert. It was another super low scoring night. So my two favorite spin-ups were Mitchell and Embiid. Now Mitchell was the absolute chalk. Embiid was low owned. I was kind of surprised. I only saw 34% Joel Embiid. That was massive. Massive. Clarkson and Ingles were also two of my favorite plays once Conley went down. They were both fine. Clarkson started the game like 0 of 7. Ingles started red hot, but then did like nothing in the second half. All right. So tilted a little bit about Rudy Gobert. Again, probably the most overrated player in my opinion in the NBA. Number 2. So Ty Lue. Ty Lue. Ty Lue. Basically playing a 6-man rotation. Last few games there against Dallas. It worked. I'm thinking, okay, we're going to continue this rotation, tight rotation. Starters are all going to play big minutes. They're going to play small. So, what does Tyronn Lue do? What does he do? Goes from basically a 6-man rotation to basically a preseason 11-man rotation. 11-man rotation. Just Nick Batum. Been playing 35 to 40 minutes a night. Played well when he was out there. 21 minutes. I didn't play him. Well, I guess he got in foul trouble. Red Jackson was 17 minutes. They played the boogeyman. You show you want to go small, but you play DeMarcus Cousins, and then they played Zubac 20 minutes. How about basically a guy out of their rotation and Luke Kennard playing 30 minutes too? So yeah, not super happy about that. But what I am happy about is had 3 Patreon members have massive nights. So that makes me really happy. They avoided Gobert. They won huge money. So congrats to all you guys on the big nights. Again, even though I got left out of the cash, it's always great when you guys have big nights. That really does make my day. So yeah, the rest of my lineup. Again, I thought Morris and Batum would play their normal 35 to 40 minutes. That didn't happen because the Clippers ran a 11-man rotation. I thought Terrence Mann would get, the one guy at the bench that might play 15 to 20 minutes. Basically got a DNP. And then, so the Clippers, Ty Lue basically just trolled me. He trolled me. Hope you guys had a good night. And, let's move on to the showdown slate. So, going over the Vegas odds for this one, it's Denver and Phoenix, a 222 over under. The Suns are 6-point favorites. So we'll start off with Denver. And Nikola Jokic at 11-8, I think is clearly the safest spend up, right? Because just has a high floor and high ceiling. He had one of his worst games I've seen and still went for 46 fantasy points. So, I do like Jokic a lot here at the top. Is he a must on the showdown slate? If MPJ is in, no, he's not a must. You could get a little bit different, but he's a scary fade for sure on the showdown slate. Now, Michael Porter Jr. news is massive, right? He is currently questionable. If he can't go, that changes a ton for the Nuggets. Again, my guess would be either JaMychal Green or Paul Millsap starts. Either way, both should get more minutes, and then both those guys will become really good value plays. So, monitor that. MPJ himself, if he does play, he's been very up and down. Right? I just don't have a good read on MPJ. If he does play, more of a contrarian play for me. If he's out, we'll talk about Green and Millsap, I think get a pretty big boost. Now, with the guards, with Campazzo, Morris, and Austin Rivers, they've shown they're going to go with a hot hand, right? Mike Malone is going to go with the hot hand, which makes all three a little bit risky. And Will Barton not expected to play either. He is doubtful. So he is getting close, though, it looks like. So, Monte Morris was the most popular of the 3 last game, and he shot 1 of 10. So they closed the Campazzo, who had a good game. And that was the first time Campazzo closed in a while. Right? The last 3 games he didn't close, that was the first time. So, again, they're going to go through a hot hand situation here with Campazzo, Morris, and Austin Rivers. Campazzo and Monte Morris are the much better point per guys. They are a little more expensive. It's tricky. I think Campazzo might be slightly more popular after that last game, right? Kind of the recency bias narrative. Talked about that with Gallinari. This is a whole different story, but it's crazy that Gallinari went from literally 70% last slate to 5% this slate. I talked about nothing changed, right? Nothing changed. DeAndre Hunter's still out, and he went from the absolute chalk to unowned because of one bad game. So recency bias is a real thing. It is in DFS. So I do think Campozo might get slightly more ownership because of that last big game. Again, they're going to go the hot hand with these two. And Morris, after the bad game, might be a little bit lower owned after he was popular and let a lot of people down. So I don't mind going to Morris over Campozo. I think he might come in slightly lower ownership. We'll see. I think both are pretty similar plays, right? Because I don't think they close with both Morris and Campozo together. Aaron Gordon at 6.6K, I think it's actually a pretty safe play because we know Gordon is going to play about 30 minutes. He's been doing a little bit of a better job in the offensive end, 30-plus fantasy points the last 3 games. So I think Aaron Gordon's a pretty safe play here in the mid-range. And then, Jermichael Green at 4.8. He's been a solid player off the bench for Denver. He went for a double-double last game. So even if MPJ plays, I think Jermichael Green is fine value. Then if MPJ misses, then it's going to be a lot more minutes for Green, probably more minutes for Millsap, who would be a really good value too. So again, monitor that. Austin Rivers, I would assume plays somewhere around 30-ish minutes. He's really taking a step back offensively, and he definitely has the lowest floor out of those 3 Denver guards, but he's also the cheapest. So yeah, he's in play, and you're never getting excited about playing Austin Rivers. Never. I mean, I played him a couple states ago. 40 minutes, 7 fantasy points. So the floor is there, obviously, with Rivers. Now, Millsap at 2.6. If MPJ's in, probably plays somewhere around 10 to 15 minutes off the bench, mainly to back up Jokic. And he actually is a pretty decent point per minute guy. Now, if MPJ is out, I think either Green or Millsap starts, and whoever doesn't start should play more too. So, yeah, if MPJ is out, I like both Millsap and Jermichael Green for value. And that's kind of it. Like Marcus Howard got a little bit of run. He got 8 minutes last game. I guess if Jermichael Green's out, he could be a candidate for more minutes. But yeah, that's kind of a wrap for Denver. So let's move on to Phoenix now. And the big 3 of Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, all in play. My favorite, though, being Chris Paul. And again, the reason is he looked fully healthy. And when we get a fully healthy Chris Paul, he's the guy that has the highest floor out of that big 3 because the peripheral stats, right? 12, 11 assists, and he played 36 minutes, which is really, really good to see. So I think Chris Paul is a pretty safe play with upside. Like him a good amount here. Now, Devin Booker, I do think, has the highest ceiling, right? We saw it 2 games ago, the 70 bomb. I do think he has a little bit of a lower full floor than Chris Paul when both those guys are fully healthy. But, he still shot 8 of 12 last game. It just, other guys stepped up, so he didn't have to do as much. But still have interest in Booker there at the top, if you can afford him. DeAndre Ayton is definitely my least favorite of this big 3. He had a solid game last game, went for 20 and 10, and still only 35 fantasy points. He did stay out of foul trouble, but, there's risk, right? Because any center going up against Jokic, there's good risk for foul trouble. So, I think Ayton is probably my least favorite of the 3. Not saying he's out of play, right? If he can stay out of foul trouble, we should get 35-plus minutes from him. And he's been a pretty solid rebounder, can probably get you close to double-double if he does stay out of foul trouble. It's just, I think he is, again, the riskiest of the big 3. Now, Mikal Bridges, he had a massive game last game. Massive. 44 fantasy points, 23, 5, and 5 with 2 steals and a block. His coming out party in the playoffs for sure, because he's kind of been quiet in the playoffs besides that last game. Now, the price is at 6.8. It came up. He was at 5.4 last slate. I still think he's in play. I do. But I do think he might be a little bit over-owned after that most recent game. And Bridges, more out there for his defense. He can have a good offensive game like last game, but again, he's more out there for his defensive ability. And the price did come up, so you're paying a premium now. I just think he's too close in price to the big 3 of Phoenix. So even though I don't like Ayton as much in this slate, I would much rather pay extra, like $1,600 for Ayton than Bridges. So yeah, that's my thoughts there with Mikal. Not saying he's out of play. Again, he should play 30 to 35 minutes. It's just ownership might be slightly inflated after the last big game. Cam Payne at 6K. So with Chris Paul playing more minutes, the minutes went down for Cam Payne. I think he hovers around the 20-minute mark. He's been a pretty solid player for them in the postseason. He's a decent offensive player. At 6K, I think that's reasonable, but a little bit more of a contrarian option. And then Jay Crowder at 5'4". Again, out there for his defense, but can hit some threes. The price a little more reasonable on him, I think, than a guy like Bridges. Like if you made me pick, I think I would give the slight edge to Crowder over Bridges. Both are, again, pretty similar players in the fact that, good defensive players can get hot offensively, but do have a decently low floor. So with Crowder, Bridges, both firmly in play. I think I just like the price a little bit better on Crowder than I do Bridges. And a couple other guys got to mention here. So Cam Johnson at 3K did not have the best game last game. 0 of 2 shooting, 14 minutes, 6 fancy points. I think he gets somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes, and that makes him playable. It's a pretty big risk though because, and floor is there, right? He went for 6 fancy points last game. Torrey Craig kind of came out of nowhere again. It is a revenge game narrative for him. He went for 24 fancy points in 17 minutes. Now, that's more of an outlier, I think, from a guy like Torrey Craig, but I do think he's going to be in this rotation again and should get, I would say, around 15 minutes, which makes him in play. He's 2-2. If you need someone super cheap, Torrey Craig is fine. And then finally, it was Dario Saric that actually played the backup 5 over Kaminsky. So if DeAndre Ayton gets in some foul trouble, you're going to see Saric get extended. Most likely. I don't think they can afford to go small, really. So I think Saric is an intriguing play because Dario Saric is actually a decent point per minute guy for DFS. And if we do get that early foul trouble at Ayton, he's going to come in and he could have a really good game at low ownership. Now, if Ayton stays out of foul trouble, then it's hard to feel great about Saric because I think he plays, 8 to 10 minutes. But if we do get that early foul trouble, you could see Saric crush. So I'm intrigued by him for that reason because you could play that game. You could play for the foul trouble and play Saric. I don't think it's the worst idea. And Kaminsky got a DNP last game. It was Saric that played the backup 5 over him. And that's really it for Phoenix. So, again, as far as I'll go over roster construction more on Patreon if you guys are interested in that, as far as what I think is kind of optimal to go for this build. At the top, I think Jokic is the clear, spend up, obviously, high floor, high ceiling. Can you make the argument to fade him? Yeah. If I was making one lineup, though, I would not fade Jokic. And then injury-wise, again, Barton not expected to play, but MPJ is big, right? That will change a lot because if Michael Porter Jr. is out, then you got values and guys like Green and Millsap that get a pretty big boost. I'm just trying to think, who else could get extended a bit? Maybe, again, Marcus Howard. Maybe Shaq Harrison's a candidate for more run if that's the case. You could take a dart in one of those guys if MPJ does get ruled out and just hope they get extended a bit more. But really, I think the main beneficiaries would be Green and Millsap. And both those guys are decent point per minute guys. So, again, that's the big piece of news to keep an eye on. But that is going to do it for the video today, guys. So if you haven't enjoyed the content so far, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos you don't live. Again, I will be live tomorrow. Make sure to check it out. Thanks again. Have a great night, guys, and I'll see you all tomorrow in the live stream.